different process of word formation, such as derivation, compounding, and inflection. By studying morphology, people can understand the structure, meaning, and grammatical function of words in a language. Guys, it's been so windy this day. It's making me sleepy.
True. The weather is so cozy lately.
Right?
Sleepy? Why is the word sleepy?
Well, that's actually morphology in action. The word sleepy isn't just one chunk, it's made of sleep and life.
Yes, that's true. To break it down into details, that introduces us to our first concept, which morphemes. A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning or grammatical function in a language. You cannot divide a morpheme into smaller parts without losing its meaning.
Oh, so like sleep carries the main meaning and why changes it?
Exactly. And morphemes comes in two types. First, free morphemes. These morphemes are independent and can stand alone as complete words like book, kind, or fast. And then the second one is bound morphemes. These cannot stand alone. They must connect to another morphemes to make sense. We usually call these affixes.
Yes, and based on their position, affixes can be prefixes like re and rewrite, or suffixes like ness and kindness.
Wait, isn't there something called an infix? Like inserted inside a word? Well, I think it's rare in English, but it appears in casual expressions like when bloody.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, guys. Now, when building complex words, these morphemes attach to each other in layers. This brings us to the difference between root, base, and stem.
Yes, let's make it easy. A root is the absolute core part of a word that carries the main meaning. So you cannot break it down any further. A base is any form that you can attach an affix to. It can be just a simple root or a root that already has other affixes. And a stem is the specific name for a base when you add a purely grammatical ending to it.
Let me try to give an example to see if I get it. Take the word respectfully.
Okay?
The root is respect because that is the core word. The base is respectful, which is the root plus the suffix full. It's a base because we can still add the next layer, right?
Yes.
And it becomes a stem where we add the final grammatical layer, which is the suffix "ly" to make respectfully.
Spot on, Priya. You nailed it.
But wait, we use these affixes for two entirely different purposes, right? That's why we have derivation and inflectional morphology.
Correct. So, derivational morphology is when you create a brand new word. And it usually changes the part of speech. For example, if you take the adjective quick and add ly, it becomes quickly, which is an adverb. And you completely change how the word functions in a sentence.
On the other hand, inflectional morphology just adjusts the grammar without making a new word. For example, if you take the verb play and add ed to get played, it's still a verb. You just shifted it to the past tense, but the core meaning stays exactly the same.
Okay, so derivation and inflection rely on adding bound affixes to a base. But what if we don't use affixes at all? And what if we just combine existing words together?
That's called compounding. Compounding reading is the process of combining two or more independent free morphemes to create a single new word. And here's a cool rule. The grammatical category like noun, verb, or adjective of the final compound word is almost always determined by the second word, which we call the head.
Oh, like these examples, right? Noun plus noun. Sun plus flower becomes sunflower, which is a noun because flower is a noun.
Yeah.
Second, adjective plus noun. Green plus house becomes greenhouse, which is also a noun because house is a noun.
Yeah.
Third, verb plus noun. Break plus fast become breakfast, which is a noun too.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's one last thing that always confuses people, but it's actually super cool. Allomorphs. An allomorph is basically a different pronunciation of the same morpheme. The meaning stays exactly the same, but the sound changes depending on the sounds around it.
Oh, so it's like the past tense morpheme, ed. We always write it as ed, but we actually pronounce it in two different ways.
Yes, listen closely to how we say these. It sounds like a t sound in tapped because it comes after a voiceless sound. And it sounds like a d sound in cleaved because it follows a voiced sound. And it sounds like an it sound in wanted, which happens after words ending in t or d.
Wow, so morphology isn't just about writing. It's also about how we naturally speak every day.
Yep, exactly. From a simple yawn on a windy day to the complex rules of spoken English, morphology helps us understand how our language breathes and grows.
Now that we have covered the basic definitions and examples of morphological productivity, let us look at how linguistics experts actually study this phenomenon in the real world. The first study was conducted by Wahom and their research team in 2025. Their paper is titled Morphological Productivity and Lexical Innovation. This study focuses heavily on digital communication and language transformation across social media spaces. The researchers wanted to see how internet culture impacts word formation. What they found is that digital spaces act as a major catalyst for morphological productivity. Because online trends move so fast, internet users are constantly forced to customize existing language resources to create new neologisms and slang, just like ghosting or gaslighting that we mentioned earlier. Specifically, the study highlights how people use structural mechanisms like affixation, which means adding prefixes or suffixes, and compounding, which is joining two full words together. For example, social media users easily attach traditional English prefixes or suffixes to modern digital roots, or combine completely separate terms to create a single recognizable blend that fits internet culture. This study is incredibly important because it proves that morphological productivity is not just a historical concept. It is the exact engine that allows modern language to remain highly adaptive, alive, and capable of evolving right alongside rapid technological changes.
Moving on to the second study. This one was conducted by Gafford in 2026. It takes a slightly different approach, focusing on a quantitative, corpus-based analysis of contemporary English word formation mechanisms. While the first study looked at the cultural side of social media,
Gaffer wanted to physically measure and compare which morphological processes are truly the most productive in modern daily use. To do this, the researcher analyzed large-scale language databases looking at three major word formation processes: derivation, compounding, and conversion. Gaffer tracked how often new words are created using these three methods. The empirical results of this corpus study revealed that derivation, especially through highly productive suffixes, and compounding have significantly higher rates of productivity. They are constantly being used by speakers to generate completely fresh lexical items. On the other hand, conversion, which is just changing a word's grammatical category without changing its actual form, turned out to be much less productive in generating entirely new vocabulary.
So, to wrap everything up, both of these studies make one thing very clear. Productivity in morphology is not just an abstract theory found in your introductory linguistics textbook. It is a living, breathing, measurable process that happens every single day. We see it dynamically when we type on our phones and create social media slang. And we see it structurally when linguists analyze large data purposes to show how dictionaries expand over time.